Hey everybody, thank you yet again for listening to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. We have a brand new subscriber by my man, Richie. Thank you very much, Richie. I appreciate your support. We also want to go ahead and thank Courtney as well as Tamsin and Aiden. Give you guys all a shout out for supporting the channel. If you guys are interested in also supporting the channel, feel free to click the link below in the description to our Patreon, where you will have access to additional episodes, extra episodes, and extra bits from the show that we don't put on our Spotify and our YouTube channels. Now, with that being said, I'm going to start talking, and you're going to start listening to the next episode. Here we go. Okay. Not afraid of ghosts. Not afraid of ghosts. This is just a cemetery. I'm fine. I'm okay. Just wait. What was that? Hi. Sorry. I didn't see you there. I didn't just scream. Who am I kidding? You scared the bejesus out of me. Hey, I'm your host, Tristan, and thanks for coming to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. You're probably wondering, why am I in the cemetery? Well, it's all because of my guest, Mr. Christian Appel. Besides being the drummer for one of the coolest Christian pop-punk bands, Light the Way, which, check them out, they just dropped a single. Band's gonna be in the description. Seriously, check it out. Christian here has a very interesting relationship with cemeteries and the dead. Christian has a YouTube channel called Grave Time, where he talks about famous cemeteries, famous graves, and everything dead related. I had such a blast going over this episode. I mean, we got into the weeds, seriously, of the conversations. I mean, we talk about spiritual warfare, the literal subject of death, and all you Sacramentans, we talk about the very famous Dyer's Lane. The people who don't know about it, it's an old, notorious, spooky spot in Sacramento area. We'll talk a little bit about the history, and you don't want to miss that. But enough chit-chatting. It's grave time, baby. So, if you're ready, let's grab some candy, get your favorite costume, and get ready to walk with some dead men over your shoulder for another ordinary person with an extraordinary story. Wait, what was... You hear that? Oh,
No.
oh. Okay, awesome. Yeah, man, I made a quesadilla. I got my drinks, plural, because that's the secret. You got to have like your, this is the fun one. This is the one that makes me not die.
There you go.
What you sipping on? What you got?
I just got some ice water.
The classic, man, the classic dehydrator, dude. It works.
Yeah.
There's a reason they offer it at restaurants.
Yep.
So it's 2 days into the month of October. Have you done anything Halloween related? Anything like fall harvesty related?
Yeah, I just when I got home from work, I ran outside and put up some Halloween decorations.
Yeah?
I have a couple blow molds. I have a one of a ghost holding a pumpkin, and then I have a big giant pumpkin,
Heck yeah. Okay.
and so they're on a timer. So they're on for 12 hours, and then they shut off, and then come back on another 12 hours later, and I got some fake bats over the garage, and got kind of like this like pumpkin, I don't know, ghoul of some kind.
I like it.
just kind of like just chilling there.
We like ghouls on here, so that sounds like that's cool. I weirdly enough, I have a friend at my church whose son collects, is it glow molds or blow molds? What do you pronounce it?
They're called blow molds.
Blow mold. But basically they're like electronic plastic. Like they're again they look like old direct decorations. You have like see like snowmen. Maybe sometimes
Yes.
it's a Jesus for Christmas. That's cool, dude. Send me some pictures. Yeah, he collects them, and I just think that's super
Wow.
rad. Like I'm like,
Where does he
yeah,
put them? Because those things are big sometimes. They take up some space.
the room. His room is it's pirate themed with snowmen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I was like, dude, that sounds like cool. That sounds like a cool guy. He's obsessed with the Goonies. I'm not gonna say his name because I respect the guy, but yeah, just trust me, I know it as a cool child.
And that's there in Oregon where you're at?
That's up in Oregon. It's yeah, it's right. Because we met. It's funny. Sometimes I forget how I my first interaction. Yeah, that was the first night was that concert when you guys came up here.
Yes, that was in Portland.
Yeah, how did you just kind of did you was that show all right with you guys? I know like for the Almanac they're like, bro, this is weird. Like I don't know if they want to kill us or just it was a weird vibe.
It was like, yeah, it was probably maybe it was the worst probably show that we ever played. And we just recently played probably the worst show ever in California. And then we just on tour, we played, the Portland one was probably the worst show on the whole entire tour. But I mean, it was just, I don't know, they can't all be winners.
And we met. And if you didn't come to
Yeah.
the worst show, perform at the worst show, you never met me. There you go. So it's God's plan. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, hi everybody. We're doing a podcast. This is Tristan. You remember? Say hi to my buddy Christian. As you're finding out, so he's part of a band called Light the Way, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Light the Way. I know I'm a fan. I don't know the name, but no,
All right.
they're Christian emo, which I've like that's would you say it's a fair correct
Uh,
or like what some punk
there's
elements
probably
too.
some, yeah,
Like
I just tell people it's pop punk,
pop punk. There you go.
but yeah, there's probably some emo influence in there somewhere.
It's funny, it's like the yin to the yang, like to the dark side it's emo, but to the white side it's pop punk. It's like they're kind of very similar lyric. There's some darkness to it, but yeah, no, they have yeah, and you guys actually just dropped a new song, I think a couple days ago, right?
Yep.
What's it called? Or I can tell my people to check it out.
It's called I Would Prefer Not To.
I would prefer not to. Guys, it's a banger. If you
And
most
it's
people who listen to this will be on the Facebook. So yeah, check it out. We'll post in the group though. But yeah, no, I just met this guy at the worst concert of his band's tour. That's where we met. I loved the show. I mean, bro, to like the five people that were there, dude, we vibed. It was cool. Like you guys got fun lyrics. You're up and bro, you brought it. You put in work behind that drum kit. Yeah, thank you for rocking me, bro.
Yeah.
But
Thank you
yes,
for
I am sorry. I just forgot the reason why I have you on here is besides talking about your
right.
band is that he does, I guess we would say cemetery walks, or what do you tell people you do around night times in cemeteries?
Well, besides playing drums in a Christian pop punk band and maybe a little bit of emo influence as well,
A little bit.
I have some strange hobbies, and one of them is exploring and researching cemeteries. And that's one of them out of the many of amongst the spectrum.
That's you did the keyword there. You think it's a symptom of the tism of the got a little bite of that spicy neurodivergent sauce that made you like, I like cemeteries. They're kind of cool.
Yeah.
No, but that's actually funny enough. That's what made me invite you on here because like I heard it and I'm like, that's kind of badass. Like it's because it's half for history nerds, which when you were telling me about, oh my God, dude, that one phone call that tripped me up. So I just had like a long hike and I may have had a beer at the time and we were just talking about dogmen and we were describing a history, like something from Sacramento, like specifically. I was like, I had no idea about that. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, so I do remember when I first met you there at that venue there in Portland.
Oh, I was talking about the phone call like last
Oh,
Saturday.
the phone, sorry, the phone call. Okay, yeah, we just talked about a slew of things, cemeteries, we talked about cryptids. That's the other interest I have. You were asking me like what cryptid I like. I told you Bigfoot, and then
Northwest, baby.
and then
Rep the North.
then you said, is there possibly another one that you're secretly into or something like that? And I mentioned that I've been doing a little bit of research on the topic of Dog Man,
Oh God,
because I believe
that's
that
right.
I might have seen one here in Elk Grove, California.
That's might be where you told me that. I think because you said some specific history event or something local in our area where it's like, no, it's historically been notated. And Elk Grove of all places, like that's apparently like it's a spooky spot, a spooky stomping ground, from what I hear.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was just a farm town. Now it's a big city. It's just,
But they're still dogmen, which we'll get into that in a second. But I
yeah.
mean, yeah, guys, that's what kind of pulled me to him. Besides him, I mean, again, Christian pop punk emo influenced band. The man's got interesting hobbies, and I thought you'd be perfect for my Halloween episode. So I'm gonna put the Scooby Doo like bat noise sound effect right here, and maybe some applause for you. And thanks for coming to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tristan. I appreciate it.
But yeah, cemetery. I'm gonna just call them cemetery walks. You think that's a fair
Yeah,
thing to
that's fine.
describe what you? Okay, so just the process sounds interesting, and I never, because when I hear cemetery walks, I'm like, okay, what weird ghost hunting thing are you doing? Are you being disrespectful to the bodies? You're not, obviously, but I never realized that it would also be kind of a history spot too, because obviously, because you got dates there. You're like, this person died from this around here on this date. That's just it's so obvious, but I never saw cemeteries as like, oh, I can dig on this historically. It's just I never thought of it, but it's there. That's cool. So,
I think most people they're into this type of hobby, there's many different things that they're interested in when it comes to it. And it could be the spooky side of it, it could be the history side of it, it could be just being around nature and just the opportunity to explore. There's so many different factors, and I feel like over time, I think this interest in hobby is it's constantly evolving.
hmm,
The
okay,
thing, the different things that I'm slowly kind of like I come across something new. I'm like, oh, this is quite interesting. I'm going to continue to like pursue this amongst everything else that I am looking for when I go to a cemetery.
exactly. Well, so I guess what I'll ask is what started the fascination with cemeteries?
Before I had turned 1 years old, my grandfather had passed away 20 something days before my very first birthday. And so over the years as a child, I'd be with either my parents, but I have better memories of basically being with my aunt and grandma, taking a drive to the cemetery, going to visit my grandpa's grave. And it just became kind of like a natural thing to do, like on the weekend. Most of the time, I think it was on a Sunday. I think I was maybe 5 or 6 years old when I had asked, well, where's grandpa? And I can't remember if it was my grandma or my aunt. They just said, well, you know, he's gone and he's in heaven. And so it was just kind of like a mind boggling type of thing for being like 5 or 6 years old, like you don't, you have nothing to like reference off of that.
Talk about mortality. Like, where are they? Yeah.
But it was just like being in a cemetery and you have all these like headstones and, grandpa is just like one of them. So it's like, okay, so is like everyone in heaven or is everyone gone? Like, but it was just kind of an interesting thing. So it kind of over time, it kind of like, it made death to me like normal and acceptable. But it was more on the basis of going to pay your respects.
No, and to be honest, it is the most technically death is the most normal thing. It's a constant, it's a something we all have to face. I mean, it's literally part of life. You can't have life without death. So it's
Yeah.
in a way, it's kind of the most normal hobby to have, but it's I yeah, no. Well, I think I told you about the cemetery story I had like just like you said, they're people. Are they in heaven? Their bodies in the ground? Do they have any meaning to it? Because they're just, you know, waste. They're and matter that's just worm food. But that's I don't know. Do you ever have? I have to ask the question right away. Do you ever have like spiritual or supernatural experiences being in cemeteries?
Yeah, I do.
Oh boy.
Not 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 necessarily immediately. Not to get sidetracked, but we'll come back to it.
No, thank you. This is bro, because I know I was like, dude, there's all these interesting questions. Where do you want to go first?
Okay, yeah. Well, just like I said, I'm just about winging it. So when I got my driver's license shortly after I graduated high school, I was 18, summer of 1999. And I remember the first time I drove to the cemetery by myself to go visit my grandpa's grave. So I got more familiar with the route.
Okay.
Probably about 2001, a friend of mine who I met in college bought a camcorder. And so I wanted one, so I went out and bought the same thing he did, and it just made sense to me. Hey, I'm going to go to the cemetery. I'm going to film it. And this is before YouTube. This is before
Before YouTube,
this was
before
like
Paranormal Activity, like, bro, you're kind of low-key found in it right now. It's like,
possibly. I mean, I think other people probably did too, but I just did for I guess just for my own. It's like a keepsake, which is interesting because this continues on to today basically. But I'm always constantly documenting things. Anyway, I had this, I filmed my grandpa's grave, and then I started walking around to the cemetery and just filming random just things. And there was a newer portion of the cemetery, and there was a girl that I can't remember. She had some kind of tragic death. I don't know if she was murdered or if she was hit by a car, but she was really young. And I went up to her grave. There's like no wind in sight, and there's like a little pinwheel at her grave marker. I can't remember if it was a tombstone or not. And I got super close. I'm filming it, and I just said, I'm just sorry that you're gone, and that you died before your time. And it was just so weird. Like all of a sudden, like the pinwheel just started moving. There was like no wind around me at all.
I was waiting for it. I've seen,
And it was like it was moving, like it was spinning really fast as if like there was wind, but there was no
as
gust of wind. It was perfectly calm. And I was just like, I just kind of I stood there and just watched it for a few seconds, and was just like, it then kind of dawned on me and like, okay, this is not normal.
if anything did freak you the hell out, I would have been like, I'm leaving. I need to go now. There are people
No,
here.
it didn't, but I just felt like the reaction, the pinwheel, it was either it was some kind of, because there was no wind. So I
Yeah.
had a real, so I'm now I'm visually, and I'm able to feel it. I'm basically debunking that. Well, there is no wind. So what's causing this pinwheel to spin all by itself? So I couldn't tell if this was a reaction to what I said, it was positive or negative. At some probably about a minute and a half into it spinning, I think I dawned on me that maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe this is this is a warning to me to leave. And so I just respectfully just said, I'm sorry if I disrupted you. And I slowly, I turned off the camera and I walked
Interesting.
away.
That's man, bro. Okay, for someone who hasn't watched a lot of horror movies, you did the thing that the person was supposed to do in the beginning of the movie, where the obvious sign happens. You're like, I'm gonna go. Like, brother, that's okay. I applaud you, sir. Good job. Good job. Holy crap. No, dude. Yes, absolutely. That's terrifying. And I mean, I don't know. You treated it with respect, kind of like a wild animal. Like this could be again positive. You could also be a demon or some other dimensional being, and I'm just like, okay, bro, I'm gonna leave tonight. You have a good one. Did you ever go back to that cemetery?
My grandma's buried there. My
Oh,
uncle,
that's right. That was that one.
my
Okay.
aunt recently got her headstone on the day before St. Patrick's Day this year. So I haven't been there in about a month and a half, but I think it was earlier this year. I tried going over that portion of the cemetery, which is it's had a lot more growth.
Okay.
And I've tried to find that gal's grave, that little girl, and I can't find it.
Ooh.
I can't find it. I knew it was. There was another a bigger tombstone. It's like a praying hands statue on top of this larger grave, and her grave was right in front of it. I can't find her grave at all. It's like it doesn't exist. And so I'm just like, okay. So I'm trying to place my mind from 2001,
I gotta tell you, brother, she she was never there, bro.
possibly,
That grave wasn't a grave for 30 years, man. You said a ghost.
maybe, I don't know.
Oh,
Stranger things have happened.
well, and so I asked the question because I'm bringing around why I was sharing. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I want to speak for people, but cemeteries are just kind of a weird place, period. Like, I can't. unless someone has died recently, I can't remember talking to somebody that like can I'm asking the audience, when's the last time you've been to a cemetery? Hopefully it wasn't sometime this year and for other sad reasons, but just
Yeah.
I remember it was me and my wife's anniversary. I think it was last year or the year before. I think it was the year before, where we were driving through or like kind of southern Oregon. I feel like it might have been a cemetery you visited though, but it's like one of the bigger like Oregon cemeteries. It was old. It was somewhat famous, but I we went there. I was like, oh, I was like, let me just go to this place. This maybe I don't know. I don't compelled me to go there. And we're just walking around and blah blah blah. I talked to my mom about it that night or whenever, probably wasn't that night. And she said that was the same cemetery I was when I was like a child, like a 1 year old. And apparently I didn't want to leave. Like I was crying when she picked me up to like go. Like I was like, I don't know. It just when I found that I got chills. I was like, okay, like just cemeteries are weird, man. Like they're weird, and it wouldn't surprise me if spooky shit like that happens. Like I know some people are very divisive about the ghost thing, but just like, ugh, heebie-jeebies.
Just for the record, I don't go to cemeteries to do ghost hunting, or I'm not there looking for spirits or anything like that. I'm going there to explore and learn about people's lives, and if anything, acknowledge them. You know, especially if they're a veteran, I go out of my way to thank them, you know, for their service.
You just like pray for them, or just say like,
I just say, you know, I'll see that they served, like if it's like World War II or World War One or whatever. I'll just say, you know, thank you for my freedom. Thank you for your service. God bless you.
it's kind,
You know, it's
especially for the people who gave it to us for that time. No, that's it's again, I still feel like I don't 100% know. Like I do know, but like it's because I don't necessarily know why or the drive so much to go to these places where it's like again, not a lot of people go there, or if they go there, it's because they're remembering one person and eventually they forget, and eventually that tombstone because just forgotten. And oh, I like to think if there is someone or something on the other side, they'd want to be thanked or be remembered. So I think you're doing almost a service. Plus, the caveat is you're not. What's your? We're off going off topic, but what's your opinion on like the whole ghost hunter thing? Like the people who aggressively go after it, and I think there's some famous guy that has like some haunted museum in like Las Vegas.
oh yeah, that's Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, that friggin' guy. That friggin' guy. What's your you got a hot take or a opinion on that stuff and that guy?
I mean, I never met the guy, so I mean, I've heard good things and I've heard bad things. I've visited some of the locations where they've filmed stuff, and you know, I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm pretty straightforward with a lot of people. I just want to know, and some people have very negative things to say, and some people have positive things to say about him.
That's fair.
I don't really have an opinion. I mean, I think some of the things that he does is, uh, I think he's pushing it a little too far. I think there's, I don't know. It's
Christian, I will say if we need to edit, we can, but brother, I want you to speak your mind. I want you to say exactly how you feel, man.
so I process things in different ways. I process things through my own emotions.
Mm.
I process things through experiences. I process things through, you know, having a Christian mindset, and not by my name being Christian, but as a believer in Jesus Christ, you know, how I process things in several different ways. So looking at Zach, he might have done some great things for people, but I also think that he enables people. And what they're doing, they're filming for a TV show. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, so some of it could be faked and some of it could be real. There was a time in the show where, you know, if they were dealing with something that was demonic or satanic activity, you know, Zach used to say, well, there's like satanic symbols here. We're not going to show them on camera because we don't want them to be a portal to someone else. You know, basically open yourself up to something from watching the show. Or
Like a spirit.
we don't want kids to like start drawing these signs on things and stuff like that.
Makes sense, yeah.
But eventually the show, like it progressed to like, now they're showing those symbols.
Yeah.
Now they're almost like drawing these symbols. Now they're almost like provoking. And And a lot that's basically what a lot of what he does is provokes, and that is a no-no because it's like playing with an Ouija board. You don't know what's on the other side.
Don't come knocking because something will knock back and you have no idea what it is. Absolutely.
When you're dealing with paranormal stuff, you don't unless you have the ability to see into the supernatural realm, either with your physical eyes or third eye or whatever the heck it is. I don't know. But most of the time, you can't see it. And probably, I'd say 99% of the time, or 99.9% of the time, you can't really see exactly what's going on the other side. You don't know what you're dealing with. And so it's a roll of the dice kind of game. And
Yep.
that in the times that I've helped out with there's a local paranormal investigation team here in Sacramento that I've partnered with on several occasions, just being a fly on the wall. I don't touch
Yeah.
any of the gadgets. I'm not interacting with spirits. I'm just there filming it and just kind of as I go, I'm praying that, there's nothing attaches to me that doesn't attack me, doesn't physically hurt me, physically, mentally. I'm praying for the people they're there with me that, they don't go too far in what they're doing.
Well, and no, and if I can interject for a second, so that's kind of what low key like made me go like, bro, you're right. Not necessarily you have to kind of be spooky vibing or thinking that stuff, but like, or specifically go there for ghost hunting. You know, that's not always the way, but it's just like you're low key going in like the bear's den. Like that's part of the reason why I would be worried or it's the potential influences. I don't want, again, I'm not saying it's ghosts, I'm not saying it's demons. I just don't want something attaching itself to me and kind of ruining my life. Like that just doesn't sound like the bee's knees. But like you're doing that pretty bravely. Granted, you're praying, you're trading it seriously, but like you're doing that almost scary work, but you don't watch scary movies. Like
Yeah.
it just feels like you like living it more than watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I've encountered spooky stuff as a kid. I could tell the stories if you want. If, whatever.
Oh, it's your time, baby. Like
Okay.
by all means, man, have fun, let her rip, whatever you feel comfortable.
I encountered some pretty creepy stuff in my young age and going into my teenage years. And then when I kind of, I don't know, I guess kind of left that stuff, more pursuing music and other strange hobbies I have and stuff.
Wait, could you like elaborate that? So like did just spooky things happen or you were seeking out like paranormal
Never seeked
encounters?
out anything. It's basically, I'd say it seeked out me. So it was almost like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. That's a weird thing to have to say, but it's almost like,
Maybe I can help. It just are you essentially saying just like the fact of being almost like a conduit or a bright light to again whether it's ghosts or it's just like paranormal things just come to me. I look like come like again either you see it, you experience it, or it's actively seeking you out like you said, right?
I don't really know. I mean, if those are great questions that I don't have an answer to.
It's okay, man.
But
It's
well, today I don't know if am I allowed to say today's date at all?
yeah, dude, absolutely, yeah, we're
Okay,
fine.
so yeah, today is October 3rd, and on this day in 2001,
Our Lord. To
I gave my life to the Lord. I
hey.
got saved on this day in
Wait, today?
this very day. Yeah.
Bro!
So
Bro, of all the times.
yeah,
Jesus is real. I'm proclaiming it, man. It's
there you
too many
go.
coincidences. No, dude, it's the
Amen.
episode I just did. We talked about this, like just the perfect timing. Well, happy birthday, bro. Your
Yeah,
spirituality can drink now.
spiritual birthday. Yep.
There you go.
But along with that and all this other weird things I had encountered and stuff, there was a time when I wanted to get into deliverance ministry. And
You mind explain what that is?
yeah, basically helping people who have issues in their house, like cleaning the house, people who might have some kind of like possession issues. So
You're the
deliverance,
you're the this house is clean person. You're the
something like that. Yeah.
okay, all right. That's bro, and like so you really haven't watched I know I keep going back to the horror movies, but bro, like you're in so many movies and you don't even know. Like you're like it's crazy. I'm like, bro, you do that. That's what you okay, so tell me about that. That sounds interesting. Okay. Like
Yeah, that's and that kind of that kind of ministry is not for everyone. You have to be called to that, and I think everyone. Well, I don't know who everyone is, but basically, you would basically know if you have a calling in that.
Would you confuse, or would you say having a calling and having the ability are two different things? Or are you saying,
It could be. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I
I know,
just
I'm sorry I'm asking you so many hard questions, but
no, that's right.
you were thinking about leading into this. Was that like as you grew up or very like when you became a Christian, like that's was just something you found or like what you were explaining?
Yeah, mixed with my unusual paranormal encounters that I had, and then also always having this interest about that stuff. Now I'm a born again Christian. I've kind of like that stuff is kind of like behind me, but it's still, it's still one of those things that still has I still have like a bit of an interest in, and so I figured, well, I don't have a whole heck of a lot of experience, but I thought, maybe pursuing deliverance ministry would be something kind of cool to do. And I had never really done it. I actually went out, I have the book here.
Please.
I went to like a Christian bookstore and I was looking for books on deliverance,
Yeah.
basically getting rid of demons and stuff like that.
You're like you dude, you're Constantine, bro. You're just like
And
again, you're a Ghostbuster. You're like,
I
okay,
guess,
but with Jesus. I love it.
yeah. So I went out and I found this book. It's called Demons and Deliverance, and it's by
Ooh.
H.A. Maxwell White. And that's White spelled with a Y.
Can you show me the cover?
Okay. See
Yeah.
this book here.
Oh, dude, it looks really cool. Damn. Here. Demons and Deliverance.
And it's a crazy book.
M.A. Maxwell White. Okay.
Read it twice. Read it the first time, took notes, read it again just to really like let it sink in. I haven't read it in, gosh, I haven't read this book in probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years, but
Oh
I've
wow.
kept it because I have it highlighted and notes and stuff in here. And
So you became a Christian in 2001, and then for like 5, 6 years you were demon hunting and just like or demon banishing. That's crazy, dude. I've never been like, all right, jump into a religion. Let's fight demons. That's so cool.
well, it really, I mean,
I know it's more than that. I'm trying to
yeah,
guess, yeah, brother.
there's
I'm
more
just
stuff
like,
into it, but I mean, probably, I don't know, probably a good 4 or 5 years after, getting saved, I went to like a Pentecostal church, which
mm, speaking in tongues.
speaking in tongues, and a lot of things within the Pentecostal church, they do have a lot of deliverance ministry. It doesn't necessarily always mean that you're doing exorcisms, but I mean, you're just going in, and you're just doing a house blessing.
Yeah,
And I tagged along with some people when we did house blessings. We just went over and we just did stuff,
that's
and
cool.
then randomly, people would tell me that they were having some weird things happening in their house, or they were seeing weird things in their neighborhood. And I said, okay, let's go over there. Let's go over there and take care of it.
Exactly. Did you ever bless with oil?
I can't remember if I ever honestly did that. I would just basically just kind of with my finger, I would just kind of just draw like a cross, and I would just say like, I just plead the blood of Christ. I can't remember if I ever used anointing oil. I think I just by me saying it out, speaking it out, and I just believed that, I can't physically see it, but I believe like in the spiritual realm, as I'm saying, I'm pleading the blood. I can visually see that there is being the blood of Christ is now like a deterrent against evil.
Exactly.
It's this, same blood that set us free at Calvary is the same thing that can set us free. And so, even though like I said, I visually can't see it, but I believe that in the supernatural realm, it's doing something.
And I mean, okay. And there are people who are going to listen to this episode and be like, I ain't about it. And there'll be some people listening to this episode
All
and be
right.
like, I'm about it. They're like, this is, it, again, it's hard to talk about like the spiritual realm with people who don't practice it or don't like take it seriously, atheists, agnostics, all that kind of fun stuff. But I don't know, like, it's hard to push it with facts, but this is like I do believe that there's like this spiritual force out there. Again, demons, God. It's like whatever, but it's like there are things that will lead you to ruin. And there are naturally bad things, and there's some things that are psyops, and I can go on and on and on, but it's just that I don't know. It's I'm thinking some people are getting open up to it though. It's just no, there is again, there's just forces out there with people, and it's crazy. Like, I never would think about like with serious. Ah, man, I'm gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna sound crazy if I say this out loud. I kind of want to say because it's my show.
Go for it.
I think about certain like mental illness or like people who are driven to violent acts, like murdering, like that are straight killing people. Like I low key kind of think that like those are moments where like kind of demons come over people and
Yeah, no,
they
I agree.
commit that stuff. And it's like I never considered that. I was just like, oh, that guy was just, you know, he was mentally ill or da da da, or he was just he's an asshole, short answer. But no, sometimes I straight up think like I'm like there's like energies just detached to people, make them do horrible things. It's awful. It's crazy. It's again, I'm gonna keep being crazy. YouTube's weird. Like I'm seeing it's like a pride cult. I not shitting on YouTube because everyone who's watching my YouTube videos, I love you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like and subscribe, please. We're trying to grow the channel. Thank you. No, it's just why do so many people, and again, it's a weird tangent, but why do so many people on YouTube develop these big old personalities, these big old followings, and they
Yeah.
always end up just, again, committing the same mistakes, promising, eventually have to do an apology video, they lie through their teeth, become bullies, they're bad people. Why are like a fifth of them groomers? It's weird. Like why it's like you get famous on freaking YouTube and you're like, I can't stop texting children. It's like, bro, come on. Like there shouldn't be this many of them. Like yeah, I don't know. Is that a demon? It would make more sense. That would make way more sense if there's instead of just that many gross people. I don't know. Yeah, I believe that sometimes spiritual forces are out there, and I think oh God, I can't believe I forgot the P. Diddy stuff, dude. Like I feel like you explain this to a person and be like, that sounds demonic. That sounds evil. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Why? It's oh my God. Like thoughts, opinions on that?
I really haven't been tracking the whole P Diddy thing, but I mean, it's like
You shouldn't. It's bad.
it's Hollywood. It's Hollyweird, and
It's the machine.
they're I don't know, they're probably all like that. We just may never know. I don't know. I mean,
Again, I
yeah.
Hollywood. I mean, did you ever Nickelodeon? I'm we're kind of I think like a generational difference
I
between
mean, the
us.
only thing I ever watched on Nickelodeon was Ren and Stimpy. Other than that, and then later on watching it as an adult, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I watched that.
All right.
I mean, there was so much gross, perverted stuff, but I don't know. I also watched Beavis and Butthead, but that wasn't on there.
It's
I mean,
well.
that's just
Have you ever
stupid.
seen All
But
That, or
yeah,
have you heard about All That, or the Dan Schneider documentary?
no, I
Just
don't think so.
basically, man, it's Holly weird, man. It's Holly weird, and it's like, is everyone a pervert? And it kind of looks that way. It sucks. It's yeah, man, if you're not telling me that's not spiritual or demonic or something, man, I don't know what it is because it's a weird symptom of something greater. So I again, if that makes me a crazy person, fine. I'm not an educated person. I don't go to I got kicked out of college for having too much fun. But no, but serious, hey, like, that's I just believe in something, and it changed like what I consume, what I watch. Like when people now tell me they don't watch horror movies, I'm almost like, you know what? It's probably good you don't get into them because it's like, okay, we're having this conversation. I'm sorry, I know you were. This is fun. We're going back and
All right,
forth.
yeah, we're just
That's
winging
yeah,
it.
okay. There you go. Exactly. I was talking to somebody about horror movies, and they're like, they don't watch it because they believe it's like almost portals too. It's like the view the pentagram stuff, you view the stuff, it's like you're inviting that negative energy into your life. At first I was like, you're stupid. But then I just with all this thinking, I'm kind of like, okay, wait a minute, they have a point. And there were like at least two horror movies I saw where I was just like, there's bad. Like they're great. I super recommend them if you want to invite evil spirits and be scared. You're not watching, I'm talking to the audience.
That's right.
I know it kind of hit me, and I was like, oh, I understand. It does feel like maybe consuming this for a constant, or I don't know. It just sounds better to be safe than sorry. It's like, what am I really getting from watching Blood Frat Party 5? where like the naked cheerleader cuts the guy's face off with a turkey slicer. I made that up and that exists. That's in a movie. I know.
It probably is. Here's a thought. Are you watching scary movies for the fear factor, or are you watching it for entertainment purposes?
Good question.
This is a thing. Like if you're watching something that's like so scary and to the point where now you're done watching it and you're turning on all the lights in your house because you don't want to be in the dark, then I feel like that is an evident sign of feeling something from what you just watched. There's some kind of spiritual thing that's now kind of like
Ooh,
upon you in a sense.
never thought of it like that. Okay.
So, it's something to think about. I mean, if you're watching it as entertainment purposes and then you get up and you can walk into a dark room to go turn on a light, then it's just entertainment. But if you're watching it and you're like kind of spooked out by it and you get, oh, now I got to turn on all the lights.
Yeah.
Obviously it did something to you. So that's something to think about.
Cause man, I know that happened to everybody. Like even the hardcore horror vets watched that one movie and made them scared to go to the bathroom. Like because the hallway was dark and like yeah, they exist. Maybe it hasn't happened in a while. Because I think if you do watch too much, you become desensitized to it. Same with the negative energy, you just get desensitized to the evil, and then you just keep consuming. But no, it okay, yeah, it's
I watched a movie on TCM, Turner Classic Movies, probably I think it was probably like last fall.
okay.
And I can't remember the name of the movie. It was like a very low budget film, and it was the movie that it was like the predecessor of the Halloween franchise. And I don't remember the name of the title of it.
It wasn't Psycho. It
No, it wasn't
wasn't.
Psycho. It was something that was like after Psycho. It was some movie that came out in the 70s. I can't remember. It was like mid to late 70s.
It wasn't Black Christmas, was it?
Nope, had nothing having to do with Christmas
Okay.
or Halloween. It had no holiday themed. It was just some guy that was like a crazy stalker and like was going around killing people.
Was it?
And
No, Psycho. We already said was Psycho.
yeah, not Psycho. But I watched it. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'll watch this. And then after it was over with, I was like, man, that was a freaky movie. And even if it was the predecessor or what,
It wasn't
influenced,
Tourist Trap, was it?
no,
Okay.
I don't, no, I don't believe so.
Do you remember like Luke? Because I'm sorry, I'm really curious because like I also like I like spooky stuff. I as much as I'm critiquing, I'm like I do watch them for entertainment purposes.
I really don't remember the title. I mean, I guess I could, if I did a little bit of research, I'd probably be able to find it.
Well, like what do you remember like what happened or at least maybe a note like a big scare or a big kill?
It was just, I think the movie takes place and it's like the characters are like, they're seniors in high school and it's like in a small town. It looks like it's something from like back east, like Connecticut or Massachusetts or something like that. There's just some creepy guy that's just like staring at people and starts
Mm.
just staring at these women. And then he starts, I don't know, he falls in love with this gal and starts like pursuing her. And she's, I guess, engaged to some guy. And so I think slowly he starts killing off all these people and eventually is trying to basically kill the fiance to get to the gal. And it was supposedly, when you watch Turner Classic Movies, they always have one of the hosts talk about, the movie.
Like little behind the scenes thing. Like by the way,
Just yeah, well, they do that after, but they basically set it up for you in the beginning. And then after they give you kind of like a behind the scenes synopsis or just little insight things. And that was one of the things like when I was done watching it, they said, this movie was the predecessor to the Halloween films. And I was just like, oh, wow. Like, well, that definitely makes sense because there were a lot of, I could see the similarities to it. And when I was done watching it, it was one of those, and it's this is very rare, but it was one of those movies where I got up and was like, I feel like I got to turn on the lights in the hallway to get to my bedroom. It's very rare that happens because I don't watch those kind of movies.
No, and I mean, and I wouldn't want you to because you're watching a disturbed man stalk a woman, and I don't know, can only assume creepy stuff in short. Did he just well, I guess I'll just watch the well if I can find the movie. But it again, it's that's the hard thing about horror movies. It's like on one side, it's like there's something about being scared. It makes you feel alive. It is inviting things, but it's just like this kind of, I don't know, it's like why people go to haunted houses. Like not the cemeteries, more like the amusement park kind of stuff. There's something about it, but
Yeah.
it's also kind of tasteless. Sometimes it's gross. They're perverted. They go places. I think someone described horror movies as like the best, like it's like the best way of storytelling as far as like the good and evil are clearly defined in that movie. Like
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
every other story, you're like, okay, this is gray. Is this the protagonist? Is any like you clearly see at least like they're the best movies for like, okay, clearly this one's in the wrong. This one's clearly the bad guy. This is clearly the person we're rooting for. So
Yeah.
I'm looking here.
But yeah, like I said, I don't typically watch horror flicks at all or scary movies. It's just not appealing to me. It's not because of those reasons. It's just, I don't know. I mean, if I get a chance to watch a movie, I want to watch something funny or, like a film noir or something like that. And those can be spooky, not to the point of, something in a movie where it's like supernatural or it's someone's going on a killing spree or something like that.
Well, so that's the kind of and that kind of leads into like the questions I want to ask. So it was about
Yeah, let's
we
do
got
it.
like an hour in though. I do feel like we barely touched on your ghost hunting stuff because like that was sorry, not technically ghost hunting, but the ghost walking. I wouldn't mind going back there eventually. I hope I make it clear. I'm also not like jazzing it too much for horror movies because I'm really saying it's like you're missing out, but also like there's really also not much value in like, hey, cool. You watched again something tasteless or something that's inviting dark spirits in your life. Because I believe I was hinting at it before. I'll tell you, and I'll tell you not to. If you do it, that's your own fault. Long Legs and the movie Don't or Talk to Me. I think that was last year. Have you heard either of those movies, Long Legs and Talk to Me?
Nope.
Great, fantastic horror movies, spooky horror movies. You mind if I just vaguely just tell
Yeah,
you the
go for it.
synopsis? Okay,
Yeah.
so at least with Talk to Me. Spooky season, guys. Be careful. Again, Halloween candy, spooky music right here, like skeletons. We just added it right there. Watch stuff on your own volition. Be careful out there. Sometimes there's razor blades in the candy. Sometimes there's demons on the videotape. I mean, the ring happens. Shit, shit happens. So be careful. With that said, Talk to Me is a good movie. You should check it out. Talk to Me is about, and it's shot very well. So a bunch of YouTube guys, this is their first official movie. And the movie is kind of an allegory for like party drugs and like peer pressure. But the movie's about this kind of Australian town where this kind of party trick has been going around to a couple parties where it's a plaster mold of a medium's hand mummified, or at least that's what they said it is. It could also just be nothing. But when you grab this hand and say, talk to me, you start seeing spirits of the dead. It's like a more interactive Ouija board. And they treat the movie as if it's like a party drug. Like this girl keeps doing it, almost like it's, like a drug addiction. It's a great flick. It's dark. There was a scene in the movie where I literally started praying. I was like, this is evil. This is literally hell. And yeah, you shouldn't watch it. And everyone listening, you probably shouldn't watch it either. If you watch it, that's on my own damn fault. I'm sorry I made it sound so appeasing, but And Long Legs, I'm not gonna say anything about that movie. It's just if you dig what I'm saying, it's scary. It kind of goes places, real spooky. When I left the theater, I felt like I was being watched. Yeah, so I don't know. I kind of it's almost kind of got a new twist for horror movies for me. Now I'm like they're kind of dangerous. It's kind of like walking in a cemetery, except like I'm safe in my house and I'm just watching garbage. But I don't know. I just
Have you ever walked out of a movie theater because a movie was so scary?
oh
I have.
like left.
Yes.
I I can't say that I have just because I For me, it's like I gotta see it through to the end, even if it gets bad, even if I hear the obvious signs. I'm like, I want to see. Depends. That's not necessarily true. But what was the movie you walked out of?
Final Destination.
That makes sense, though. I'm not gonna even be mad about that, dude. That just makes sense because that. Okay, tell me why. I mean, it's probably because of Halloween, it's spooky season. People again talking about death and ghouls and ghosts. You always see the occasional like it was just the first Final Destination.
Yes, that's the only one I've ever seen, and I
Oh
could only
my
get through
God.
like maybe the first,
It's only gotten
not even an
worse,
hour of it.
bro. It only gotten so
Yeah.
much worse. There is like, okay, for all the stupid people who watch Final Destination, there are certain movies that have certain death scenes that people are afraid to do things now. Like, I can't drive behind a truck with logs on it. Like that it sucks. That's now permanent trauma. Every time I'm on the freeway, I see that, I'm like, nope. Just so what scared you so bad in Final Destin? Like what was the this death scene or like what happened? You're like, I gotta go.
I get that it was Hollywood, but you know, these people in the movie, yeah, there was obviously something supernatural happening that was causing them to die. But the way that they died, it was like
It was
these are
horrible.
freaky deaths, and people die freaky deaths every day. And sometimes the news reports about it, and sometimes they don't.
And it, oh shit, that's
And
actually
so I think I'm trying to remember. I think it was the one where the lady was in the shower, and I think something like I
she
can't.
she choked herself on the toothpaste. Or not toothpaste, the dental floss.
I can't remember honestly. It just some she was this guy was in the shower, and somehow I can't remember if it was something wrapped around her neck, and like she slipped or something and like choked. And I was like, okay, this is it. I told my mom and my brother who I was there with, who basically said, we're gonna go see this movie. And I said, hey, I gotta leave. This movie's freaking me out. There's just something about people just dying freaky deaths, and this is well before really kind of exploring cemeteries and researching people's lives, because I've come across stories about just how people have died, and it just makes you think like, man, like that is nuts. I mean, just
You kind of brought Final Destination to a complete different mindset for me now that I'm like, it's not so much weird that it happened, is that it technically happens all the time and we don't know. Like, bro,
yeah, I mean,
heck yeah, okay. Tell
people
me,
die freaky deaths every day, and like I said,
yeah,
whether the media reports about it or you hear about it some way somehow, I mean, it's out there in the ether, and it's like, how did that person
how'd
die?
we
That's just
freaking
like
get
nuts.
here? Well, okay, so you were gonna tell, what was the weirdest one that you researched or you found out?
So for the record, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Grave Time,
Grave
and that's
time?
where
Just
I film.
GRAVE time?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I film cemeteries. Started out doing like famous graves, and then into historical graves. Now I just kind of just do a little bit of everything. And in the Sacramento City Cemetery, there's I came across, I would just go onto there's a website called findagrave.com. And I would just click on the cemetery, and I just start going down the row one by one to every single person that's
Interesting.
listed. And then if there was some little blurb about like how they died, I would immediately look up their name on the internet, like through digital newspapers, find the article, find anything I can about how this person tragically died or how they lived their life, what leads up to it. And I came across a story about this guy who went to visit the grave of his father-in-law, I believe it was, and he was there with his wife. And they had just moved back from San Francisco. He had a business
Hmm.
that failed, and he just felt like a failure. And he walked away from his wife for a moment and ingested strychnine, which is basically acid, and
Oh,
took
wow.
it there in the cemetery. And it immediately, probably within a minute, started like convulsing and fell to the ground. And he was in excruciating pain as the acid was basically eating away at his intestines, his stomach lining, everything.
How metal is that? I mean, that's awful. That's so bad, but
And that's the crazy thing. That's not even the first suicide that took place in that cemetery. That's just the one that I just thought was so bizarre. Like
was there other acid suicide stories? Like,
Yeah, there's another story of another person doing the same thing, taking something that's like acid related.
Okay, I'm like, okay, that's just so weird. That's a weird specific thing that like, bro, like, oh no, that's we got three of them over there. Like that's crazy.
It was just weird, but then I've read other stories where I hate to say it, it's kind of like a kind of weird common thing that some people go to commit suicide in a cemetery. And
Oh,
I just to anyone that's listening to this, if I'm not here to give anyone any ideas. So if you're dealing with suicidal tendencies of any kind, please reach out to the 1-800 suicide hotline. Also, you could dial 988, which is
ooh,
basically an emergency hotline
there you
if you need to
go.
talk to someone. Because anytime I do videos about having to do with suicide, I want to make it known that if anyone's ever had those thoughts, please reach out to these
Oh no, don't
numbers.
worry. I unfortunately I don't mean to dissect my audience, but I'm pretty sure at least I want to say that's I don't know if that's a good statistic. Half or three-fourths of them I think have at least thought about suicide. So we're good here. We're all still here. We're all killing it though.
Just it's just kind of
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. 988 folks, I didn't realize that was the hotline. Heck yeah.
yeah,
And literally an email at the end of this thing. Talk, bro. I'm pretty sure Christian would prefer you talk to him before you do anything like that. I would very much like to talk to you before you do anything like that. Your story matters. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this
yeah,
dumb cast. That's why you're listening to it.
yeah.
But continue, my friend. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, just obviously I saw Final Destination when that come out in 2000. I don't remember
I
when that was.
think about I'm trying to remember, did it I don't know if it came out. Here, let's just, I have the internet. Let's just look.
There you
Because I'm
go.
not sure if it came out before or after 9/11.
So yeah, it was just, and then there's a one scene in the movie. I can't remember. Obviously, I think I did see it because it had to be early in the movie. Because yeah, the main character he like cheats death because
It was 2000. 2000. No.
he didn't die in the plane crash, and it was like something like the little lever on the seat behind the seat that brings down the tray. His didn't break for whatever reason or something like that. If I can vaguely remember, and I remember that was like for a long time that messed people up. A lot of people had a hard time flying, and
They
then
did. Straight up. Straight up.
and I remember the first time I got on a plane like a year after like 9/11, and it was like I didn't even bother with the tray because it's like that movie messed me up just even to that point. Like
You're not going to get me, you bastards.
I can't use the tray. I'm sorry. I know it's just a movie, but it just seems that movie seemed too real. And that's the thing. Like I've been guilty of.
Death does something to people, man. I don't know. It's the same reason why you go to the cemeteries. It's different when I think I might have found it. I think it's the Jacksonville Cemetery. I think this was it. Have you ever been there?
And that's in Jacksonville, Oregon.
I think so.
No, never been to that one.
Okay. Well, first off, thanks for coming, man. This has been tight. I mean, again, I know we kind of been all over the place, but it's just
Yeah,
like this
all right.
is I don't get to talk about this stuff very often. And when I kind of can, it's like, okay, let's have some fun. Yeah, I'll put that in the ether. I mean, if you ever it was awesome having you, but like, dude, if you ever want to we could link up and go to the cemetery, like I definitely
Yeah,
wouldn't mind having like somebody that like I'm scared to go back, man. What if the same because like I went there in the daytime. I went to this cemetery in the daytime, and it just felt weird. Like granted, this was
yeah.
like during COVID, like not a lot of people were there anyways. It just felt like if I looked really hard enough, I could see somebody standing among the trees. Like I couldn't see anybody, but I felt like I either could be getting watched or there was like, even though it's so empty and quiet here, like there just feels like I don't know. Like we're not alone here. So,
So I have a response for that.
all right, I'm fucking lock and load, baby. Let's go.
Number one, I don't want to piss anyone off that who thinks that they're a psychic or an empath or anything like that.
No, if
That's not.
people are thinking you're probably that. So go off, my friend. Just like,
But I do believe that we all have a conscience. We all have something like within us, whether it's God or we all have our own like Jiminy Cricket,
okay, yeah, you're conscious.
who's our little guide or whatever. I do believe that we all have the ability to discern right from wrong. And we all know right from wrong. But I think when it comes to things that we can't see, I think we do have the ability to discern something that's not right.
Yes.
And probably the best example would be if let's say you're walking into a room where two people just had an argument. You kind of just walk in and you're just like, man,
You feel it. The room is kind of like,
it's a little tense.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Murder take place here?
So with that same kind of ability, you can feel that in other places where perhaps maybe you're not at, or where there may not be other people at. So for instance, a cemetery. You go to a cemetery and there may be no one around, but you might
Yeah,
pick up on something. And
exactly.
so, for instance, another cemetery in Sacramento. I don't know how many blocks away, probably about 6 or 7 streetlights up from the Sacramento City Cemetery, is a Catholic cemetery called St. Joseph's Catholic Cemetery. It's a really sad cemetery to go to. I think it's totally neglected by the Archdiocese of Sacramento, and it's been heavily vandalized.
Aw.
It's just so sad to see it just kind of like just rotting. And it's one of those cemeteries that I've been to several times, and it's just I felt like I was being watched.
Ew. Okay.
I could feel like almost like a spirit of depression. I could almost feel like just like hurt and loneliness. And it's just weird to enter into a place of like a cemetery, a place of rest, a place to, remember people, and then to walk into it and just feel this.
Exactly. Feel like people aren't being remembered. It's like almost like they're not getting rest. Like that's why it feels so active.
So I think a combination of things with that cemetery. Number one, the vandalism that's taking place there. So it's, people's private resting places. What would be left of basically their legacy is now being tampered with. Who knows? There could be all sorts of rituals going on there. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know the history. You don't really know what's going on when you enter a cemetery. Excuse me. You don't know what kind of stuff has happened in there. You don't know. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't know. But in this, I don't know, 3 or 4 times I went there, I felt the same feeling. I always felt like I was being watched. And every time I've ever been to the cemetery, I've never seen any more than 5 people in this place. And it's
Interesting.
typically people, it's not people there visiting other graves. It's just people like, they pulled up their car, they're eating their lunch, or they're taking a nap, or they're walking around talking on the phone. It's just kind of like a hangout,
Yeah.
which is, whatever.
It's weird for a cemetery. We're just like, yeah, bro, it's nice, it's pretty here.
I'm there to go explore and see some history and see anything that kind of like catches my eye, not necessarily paranormal, just anything, just the beauty of a headstone, or I don't know, maybe it's the epitaph that someone's carved into someone's stone, or whatever, just the many different things that I'm interested in. And then you enter and you just start to feel stuff it doesn't make any sense.
And again, like you would only know if you were there. And it's like, when's the last time you've been there? It's like, I
The last
get
couple
it.
times I've been there, it's been very peaceful.
Okay.
And even in times when I went and was by myself, it was peaceful. So I don't know, whatever it was, maybe it's passed on.
Or do they improve it? Does like it look better now?
Mm, it still looks the same.
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
but they've done their best. They've poured some money into it to fix some of the things that have been vandalized, which is nice. For the most part, it still looks the same. It still looks like it's been kind of like forgotten, and just kind of, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
I had like a weird brain blast where I how do you, well, okay, here's a question. How do you go there at nighttime? Because aren't they usually closed at nighttime or you don't go at nighttime?
I don't go to cemeteries at night.
Because for all the reasons we've just been talking about?
And it's not because the spooky factor. For me personally, I don't know who's going to listen to this, but for entertainment purposes, and so I'm just winging it. I've only been to one. Well, I've been to 2 cemeteries at night. One, it was the Sacramento City Cemetery.
The one you say you had the creepy experience?
Sacramento City Cemetery. They had a tour going on. It was for
Okay.
it was Halloween themed. So I had every right to be in there. I paid for it, a ticket to get in.
Yeah.
Went and tagged along and did a paranormal investigation. I don't remember exactly where it was, but afterwards I was like, hey, I told this guy, I was like, hey, I know a cemetery that's not locked at night. We go over and go check it out.
Hmm.
Knowing that it probably was not a good idea, not because it's spooky or anything. It's just like
You're also low-key trespassing. Just
it's trespassing. And also, I don't think cemeteries are safe to be at night, especially if you don't know the cemetery. And here's the many different factors. Number one, most of the time the ground is uneven at a cemetery. So if you don't know where you're walking, You could trip and fall.
You could straight heck a fall.
And if you
Exactly.
fall and hurt yourself and there's no one around to help you, you're screwed.
We had this exact same conversation when you were at the Oregon spot. Like when you did the concert, I remember this specifically because I remembered that I would never think about, oh, of course, like it is low-key kind of a dangerous spot to be walking around in. Like you're absolutely right.
Because it's outside, you're around nature, so you're around the many different elements of nature. So
Roots.
you could be walking through it and get sprayed by a skunk
Oof.
because there's wild animals, you know.
Exactly.
It was interest this one I had never heard of and I'd never encountered, but it makes sense to me because it's, you know, talking to someone a while ago, they said, yeah, you know, sometimes cemeteries at night, they're places of prostitution.
Oh.
Homeless people, if they have nowhere to be, they'll camp out there and you don't know what their mental capacity is. And then you also have gang activity like drug deals and stuff. And
Mm.
you don't want to be there when something goes down. So
So just kind of rule of thumb, just like you probably it's not a good place to be.
yeah, so you just don't want to be there at night. I mean, spooky factor on it. It's like, okay, how cliche that you want to go to a cemetery at night. Go to a cemetery during the day. I mean, I've had crazy encounters with stuff during the day. I mean,
Mm.
so not all the time, but yeah, I've had things during the day, and it's like I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but
What was the second time you went to the cemetery? Was it during that pinwheel story, or that happened in the daytime?
that happened in the daytime.
That's even weirder because like again, you
Yeah,
would think that would almost happen exclusively at night, or like you wouldn't be able to see what caused it to move. So yeah, if it's daytime and you didn't feel a breeze, you definitely didn't see a breeze.
yeah.
That's a little weird, my guy. That's a
Just for the record, I'll name drop that cemetery. So if anyone else wants to go and check it out, it's just a cool place to check out. But it's called Camellia Memorial Lawn, and it's located
familial
on the Jackson Highway
on the Jackson Highway.
in Sacramento County.
Well, I was low key thinking, like maybe I don't know. I'm gonna be in Sacramento and then like the next 2 weeks, and I don't want to be that guy like, oh, it's Halloween. Let's go to a cemetery, but also like I don't know, man. Like I'm also low key like maybe let's check out a cemetery. Like besides for all the
Yeah.
reasons you said, respectfulness, beautiful stuff to remember people have moved on, and maybe ghost shenanigans.
I mean, I don't force any of it. If it happens, it happens.
Exactly.
That's you know, like I said, I'm not a ghost hunter. I just go, and if something happens, then it's like an added bonus. But that's about it.
Do you ever watch Red Letter Media?
Nope.
They are this YouTube series that criticizes movies. Like that's the whole point. Is they do a lot of movie just
Okay.
critiques and discussions. And I need to watch the video. I'm literally recommending a video that I didn't even actually like watch, but they don't seem like the ghost hunting type, but they know how to use cameras because they do film stuff. And they're like, you know what? Like, why don't we just, again, we're not trying to start anything. We're not doing anything. We're just like, we are going to be taking cameras to this location and being respectful. And maybe something might happen because of, again, this is a place where either a very violent situation happened or it's like again, just a negative energy is notorious for this room or this house and like okay, let's check it out. I just think like they would be somewhat respectful. I'm gonna watch it and if I think it's something I think you dig, I'll send it your way.
Okay. Cool.
Well dude, like seriously, it's like yeah, no, please don't censor yourself. Like honestly, people listen to this cast are people who want to listen to it, so
Got
yeah, don't
it.
because I'm it's just again yeah, you can explain, okay, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other thing, but sometimes you can't explain it.
Yeah.
And also it makes like the world more fun, like I don't know, like all right, let me believe in Santa Clauses or spiritual energy or you know, like a man who died for my sins. And I'm not comparing him to Santa. I'm just like it's like hey, like I believe in something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
Something. So well, dude, this has been crazy, man. I don't know. You kind of like I don't know if you knew, but you kind of like talked me into be like, I want to walk in cemeteries now, but like I don't know. I want to try it out. I'm a little spooked because for the reasons we just talked about, but like I'm also kind of like, but why not? Just I don't know. It
I,
might be
I
fun.
yeah, I want to throw this out there just for anyone listening. I think well, I don't think I know, but you know, back in the day before we had TVs or radio, I
Mhm.
mean, people would gather around and tell ghost stories. Okay. But prior to all that, it was a very common thing where people went to cemeteries on a regular basis to go pay their respects to their family, have a picnic at the cemetery. Like it was just a normal thing.
Yeah.
And then Hollywood comes about and starts making these movies where it's like, oh, cemeteries are haunted and it's this and that, and
Zombies
I
come out of
can't
there.
say that that's always the case, and it's kind of, I hate to say it's demonized cemeteries, but it's just kind of made them like look like they're creepy
No,
places when in reality I don't think they really are. I think there's a lot of beauty at a cemetery, especially it's outside around nature.
exactly.
Yeah,
And they're well manicured
most of them. Yeah,
and they're quiet. Well, yeah, that's funny.
yeah,
Yeah, most the
but
nice
yeah,
ones do. But it's your and it's like I'm gonna loop it back to what I said originally. It's kind of like your hobby is technically the most normal or natural thing you can have a hobby in. It's like again, you are right. Horror movies I definitely think have demonized cemeteries because it's like almost like what Jaws did to sharks. It's like they
yeah,
were just animals, and the moment they're like, they're gonna kill you. They're gonna you go in the ocean, you're gonna get bit. If you go to a cemetery, zombies will come and rip
yeah,
your flesh, or demons will follow you home and possess dolls. No, yeah, you're on brand. You're on point. Oh, you definitely made me rethink about what cemeteries are and like their use. So cool. Thanks, brother. It
yeah.
was fun. We got about 30 minutes left. I've been having just a super fun time. Did you feel like maybe there's something I didn't let you touch up on, or we kind of moved fast too quickly, or
Mm,
you're still winging it?
no, I think just like I said, we're just kind of winging it.
Heck yeah. Okay. Well, dude, this has
I
been
kind of like with the direction. I mean, I've talked about some things that I've never really shared with anyone, so I mean, I think it's cool.
I'm having a good time, brother. If anything, like bro, like I don't know if I'll edit this out, but if I have time, I don't know, you're free. Yeah, dude, you want to hit a cemetery? I might ask my
Yeah,
female to come along too, or like, I don't know, or would you prefer just the boys kind of,
yeah.
just
If your wife wants to tag along, I don't have a problem with it.
okay. At least you can maybe explain a little bit of the history or be like, hey, look, this is part of SAC. Because that's one thing I also kind of made me appeal was that I didn't like I miss Sacramento. I'm in Oregon. Oregon's helping me out. It's where I need to be. I think where God put me. But I grew up there. It's my stomping ground. Modly want to ask you this. I think I'm gonna lead into the Halloween questions because now
Okay,
that I
go
kind
for
of
it.
know more about your spookiness, or at least like what you like about death and cemeteries, I think I can give you like appropriate, not so bad horror movies, things I'm like, oh, I think you'll like this, and I don't think a demon will attach to your soul. So, have you ever heard of, I think it's called Dyer's Lane? Dyer's Lane?
Yeah,
Okay. Is it a hoax or is there something to it?
there's a lot of folklore involved with that particular road.
Maybe talk to the people who don't know what I'm talking about. You mind explaining it?
Okay,
Because I feel like you'd be more versed than I would.
okay. So Dyer Lane is a road. I'm not. It might be somewhere on the border between Sacramento County and Placer County.
It is.
If you're going northbound on Watt Avenue until you basically get into I don't know, it's like pretty close to like Rio Linda, Alberta.
It's like antelope. It's all
If you
the
go past it, then you're in Roseville.
mm,
It's a stretch of country road. And it's just kind of weird. It's like just kind of like you can get to it from basically Watt Avenue. You go down it, and then it like kind of like dead ends, and you basically have to turn left,
yeah.
and then turns into a different road name, and it basically makes a big old like kind of like Z basically, and then at the end you eventually pop out onto Alberta Road.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're like, okay, now we're here. This is weird.
Now you're in Alberta, so
You said there was also folklore. Like, is it, again, I don't know if it's like legitimate, but I heard like a lot of either it was lynchings or people were killing themselves there or guys hung on trees. Like,
I'm not endorsed by it, but I always constantly have to talk about this website that I use to do my research, and I want to encourage people to use it because you
ooh,
can find some amazing stories. But
dude,
it's called newspapers.com.
newspapers?
Sometimes you can get a subscription to it through ancestry.com. I
Okay.
don't have ancestry.com. I just pay for newspapers, and every 6 months it's almost $75. But I think it's well worth it if you do a lot of research. So I've looked through there for basically trying to see if I can find some of these stories
Yeah.
that I've heard over the years. I mean, I've driven up and down this road. I've been there during the day. I've been there at night, not necessarily looking for ghosts or anything like that, but just trying to see if I could feel something, kind of like what we've talked about, feeling things,
Yeah.
I mean, I never felt anything, even knowing folklore that I've heard, but also some of the things that I do know really actually happened. I'm just going to tell you some of the stories. I don't know if they're,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
but yeah, I've heard that,
Cite your sources of what my man's saying. It's
okay.
like he's like kind of trusts me, but also maybe just bro, look it up yourself. Like this is not gospel. Continue.
Yeah, so Dyer Lane, it's spelled Dyer. It's got a lot of history to it. It's so there's stories about, a witches coven used to go out there and, and do their stuff. There's stories that go back to like the 1930s of where the KKK used to go out there and do
Oh
their
boy.
ceremonies and even did lynchings out there, which I couldn't come across any of those. I can't That's the part of it where I think that's the folklore part, but
Okay.
there's also stories of there's like a ghost police car that drives up and down the road.
I heard about that.
I mean, yeah, you do drive out there and you'll see some pretty hateful things spray painted in the road. Those are like the things that kids do. It's like the typical stuff, a swastika, a pentagram,
Okay.
someone write KKK, it's just stupid stuff like that.
I thought it was just like slurs. I was like, damn, kids are getting spicy.
Upside down crosses.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like what teenagers do to just kind of add to the fear of it.
Damn teenagers.
Which I do think, in a sense that when people do that kind of stuff, I mean, they are also kind of, in a sense, opening up something in that area, by doing
Mm.
stuff. It's kind of, you don't know what's happening really in the spiritual realm.
That's what we're talking about, the feeling.
The feeling, yeah,
It's like you're doing knocking. You're basically putting weird energy at this spot, and it's like
yeah.
a perpetual thing. It's like kids are doing it, ghost cop cars are doing it, KKK is
Yeah,
doing it. So what were the stories you read where it's like, okay, this seems to be matching what other people are reporting?
it's also common road to dump bodies.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I came across. Well, I actually remember when it was in the news, and I think it happened in 2015. This guy, this boyfriend, basically he killed his girlfriend, and then dumped her body right at Watt Avenue and Dyer Lane meet. And just some car
Wow.
driving in the middle of the morning saw this lady's dead body just like laying there, and they eventually figured out it was the boyfriend, and I think he's serving life or something like that. I don't know,
Hmm.
whatever people do nowadays when they kill someone. I don't know. They get part time or whatever. I don't know. I mean, California's so screwed up.
He is still here, and for he's not. Yeah, he's still in timeout.
But the interesting story is there's a story about in the 80s about a kid that was killed
Okay.
on that road. I found the story online and said, okay, I want to, maybe I'll do a story about this. And I eventually found out his name
Okay.
and I found out where he was buried. And then I did something really crazy and ballsy, which I don't recommend anyone doing, but the the wannabe detective in me, the
Yeah.
wannabe Columbo, uh,
Ghostbuster. Yeah.
basically went onto Facebook and basically looked for everyone that has that same last name as him
Okay.
to try to track down and find a family member to basically say, are you related to this person? What is your story? What do you know?
Yeah.
And it got too personal. I eventually found the guy that was murdered or killed. I found his sister online.
Okay.
Today she's a Christian. She's forgiven the people who've done it, even though she still wants answers to who did it. It's still a mystery.
Oh gosh, a cold case. Dang.
The
Okay.
media basically made him out to look like the bad guy when in reality he was really the victim.
Mm,
So it was a story about a kid that was basically being bullied at Rio Linda High School.
mm,
I don't know if he was like punk rock or if he was goth or what the story was, but he was basically jumped by some jocks and was killed. And
jeez.
and
That's
so nobody knows who did it. No one's ever come forward, and that is a real story, and it's sad.
yeah,
So when people talk about Dyer Lane, that's one of those stories that comes up, but I rarely ever share that story because it's just so sad.
it is.
And on my end, I feel bad. I still have some like guilt from reaching out to family members or whoever, just try to hear their side of the story. I mean, so I basically, based off of her wishes, I told her that I would not make a YouTube video about it or anything. And as I'm doing this on this podcast, I'm not saying you have to edit out anything, but I just wanted to make it known that there are real things that have happened on that road, and there's things that are still a mystery. And for instance, like this unfortunately, this teenager, from real into high school that was attacked because he was different. And this is the 80s. I mean, people were bullied all the time, and like nowadays it's like everyone's so anti-bullying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like no, like 40 years ago, people were getting literally killed, like shoved in lockers, literally like getting like brain trauma from getting swirled. It's like,
I mean, I was bullied in junior high school, and I mean, and even sometimes in high school. So I mean, we've all dealt with it. We've all survived and lived. So
yeah, that's true.
unfortunately, this guy, I don't know what escalated to him getting into a fight, but he didn't leave there peacefully.
Mm,
I know earlier I mentioned a local paranormal group that I would sometimes tag along with, didn't really dabble with, but just tagged along with. They investigated that road and they totally believe the place is haunted. And that's their analysis. I don't really know what to really think of it. I just know that it's a road there's a lot of folklore, but then there are some things that are real. And what I do know that is real, unfortunately, is having to do with dead bodies. So
yeah.
it just
Okay.
either yeah.
Well, everybody, congratulations. You now know the deep lore of Dyer Lane, and more importantly, do your research. And most importantly, don't reach out to anyone. And again, it's just so crazy because I never thought about it to kind of loop it around to beginning the conversation. Is that in a way, cemeteries and death is like just another way of just like it's history. I mean, it's literally the study and maybe the love of kind of what's gone, of what was. And oh, I think it's important to remember. It's important to remember the victims. It's important to remember, like, hey, things happened here. Like, it wasn't just all willy-nilly. It's like people were dying. KKK was doing weird stuff, even though that wasn't necessarily proven. I don't know, but I don't know. It made me. I'm now thinking about cemeteries and death in a whole new light, and it's weird. Like I'm into it more, but maybe that's not the right message for the cast. Just yeah, Dyer's Lane, everybody. Just more spooky music right here, cued. And how much time do we got left? We got about 20 minutes. Okay. Well, no, hey, I know I thank you a bunch of times, but it's funny you mentioned like you don't normally share this stuff. It, I think it might be my spiritual gift. Like people just get like laxed around me. Like I can just fucking talk to you. I can tell you anything. So
Yeah.
thanks for being comfortable. More importantly, thanks for sharing, man. This is just like, I don't know, we can talk about demons and ghosts very often though, or just energy. And this was it's kind of exciting to do the whole walking legs thing. So yeah, thanks, brother. If
Yeah.
your permission, I think for everybody else, again, that this is gonna be dropping on the week of October, the last Monday of October. Halloween's just around the corner. And I got some movie recommendations for you if you want to get in the spooky season. You already watched Hocus Pocus and Goosebumps and had your pumpkin latte cider. Check out any of these flicks. So, Christian, movies, I think you would like. Well, first off, I gave you a list. Any of those stuff were you mildly interested in, or you were like, okay, actually, that sounds pretty cool.
I have to look over the list here. Um,
Check it out. All right.
I do want to mention a couple movies I have seen that mentally messed me up,
Oh boy.
and they
Okay.
probably could go good for being to watch on Halloween.
There you go, man. See,
So,
you're already getting the spirit. You're like, here's some trauma for you. All right.
and so once again, I saw these on Turner Classic Movies, and, and ironically, it was all on the same night. So it was really hard to go to sleep that night, and probably the next week after, was just kind of like constantly thinking about these movies. I mean, they just mentally screwed me up.
Okay.
So the first movie I saw, it was called The Baby, and it's from
The
the 1970s,
baby.
and it's basically about it's about a guy who's got to be in his 20s or 30s, and his mom and two terrible sisters are basically enabling him. They never allowed him to like grow
Oh
up. So here
God.
he is, he's like a man baby in a
Oh
diaper in a
boy.
crib. And so there's a lady who's a caseworker who, they're basically enabling him so they can get, basically live off the government basically. And so she's like a caseworker, and she's going to like, basically assist the situation. And then she realizes that there's neglect and that he has potential to possibly grow out of this, thinking that he's a baby
Okay.
when in reality he's a grown man.
Okay. And I'm not, man, dude, like the 70s were crazy. Like
Oh,
it's
it's everyone must have been on drugs back then because those movies in the 70s were just nuts.
oh yeah, and but they couldn't like we couldn't just again they couldn't just fucking just cut heads off. They couldn't just have just gore spilling. You had to be scary. It'd be disturbing. It'd be like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is okay. So
So yeah,
well
the baby.
the baby. Okay. That's bro, if anything you gave me one, I might check that one. That's like sounds pretty bad. Okay.
So the movie I saw after that,
Okay.
it's called Spider Baby. They had a weird like baby theme that
Bro, you
night.
need it. I was like,
So
bro,
Spider
that's
Baby, it's a Lon Chaney Jr. movie,
ooh.
and Lon Chaney Jr. playing a completely different role than we basically know him from.
Hmm.
He basically is the caregiver to these like mentally ill children who are cannibalistic, basically.
Oh my God.
And it's a black and white film. It's really interesting. After I watched it, I mean, like I said, I was pretty messed up by it
It looks really good.
because the reality that there could be something like this that's existed in time. After watching Spider Baby, I went ahead and went online to see if I could find any kind of like research about the movie because it was just I wanted to figure out why is this movie so demented. It was just bizarre, and I
Yeah.
found that it was actually Lon Chaney Jr.'s favorite movie, and it was
Really? Okay.
during a time when he was not drinking. He was a habitual alcoholic, but because he did this movie and he was working with kids, he stopped drinking while he was filming the movie because he didn't want to be a bad influence on them.
Good for him. That's what a sweetheart.
He said it was his favorite movie to ever do. He loved working with kids, but unfortunately never got to do movies like that. So it's amazing that, came out of that as a very mentally disturbing movie, but yet at the same time, it was his favorite movie he ever did. He stayed sober during the whole thing because he wanted to be respectful to the kids. And I think it's one of those movies that not very many people know that he did, maybe.
No, and funny enough, I just looked up apparently they're doing a remake, like a
Oh,
modern
geez.
remake for it.
Oh,
So
now they're going
that's
to ruin it.
yeah. Well, I've always wanted to give more black and white horror movies a treat. I'm just like afraid that it's gonna be cheesy or it's gonna be like "Meh," like it's I don't know. I'm afraid I'm gonna watch it like I hated it. Like I wish I watched what did I say before? Frat Party Killer 4 or something. I don't know. Just it you stand by this one obviously though, but do you watch a lot of black and white horror movies or
I mean,
you watch a lot of Turner
I,
Classic
I watch a lot of Turner Classic. When it comes to movies, I watch a lot of Turner Classic.
just in general?
The old time, classics, comedies and film noirs. But it was one of these one nights where they had like what do they call it, film expo expo.
Yeah,
What's the
exploitive or exploitation.
yes, and it was
Like
one of those nights where they had three back-to-back movies. The one that was before the baby, it was called Roller Coaster, and it was
okay.
about this guy who blows up roller coasters,
That's so
and
cool.
that's from the '70s as
I
well.
love that.
And it was filmed at Magic Mountain there in Buena Vista, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And that movie was just nuts. I had what's the name of that gal? Can't remember the actress's name. She was a teenager in that movie. It was her first acting film.
Ellen Hunt.
Yes.
This looks crazy. Holy crap. I love it.
But
Like,
just real quick, there's a funny story about the movie. So there's a rock. So in between, like it's the grand. There's supposed to be this grand opening of this roller coaster, and at the park they have a band performing. I'm trying to remember the name of the band off the top of my head. They weren't very good. I think the band was called Spirit. And when they originally wanted to do the movie, they wanted Kiss because Kiss was really big at the time. Well, the guys in Kiss read the script and they're like, this movie's so cheesy. We don't want to be a part of it. So they ended up getting this band Spirit. And it ended up being, I mean, the movie was, it was exciting at the time, but like over time, it just like
it
people
flopped.
crapped
It was
on
like,
it.
bro, like
And
it's
the band was like, dude, this film like ruined us. And it's like, dude, you guys were not really good. So
that'd be funny if Kiss I mean, I think the movie would have gotten the recognition if Kiss was in it. They'd be like, okay, this is actually like cheesy in a good way. That's hilarious that Spirit's like, yeah, we did one movie and we never got shows afterward.
another movie that really messed me up was Night of the Living Dead, the original. And I
Ah,
watched it during COVID, and I just felt like there was just too many similar parallels to that movie and what was going on in the world at the time.
that's hilarious. Technically, we were holding up.
It's really hard for me to watch movies that are like they almost hit close to reality, like much like Final Destination did. I'm just I'm very careful with what kind of movies I watch because like sometimes I don't know if they're gonna affect me mentally. What's that? Oh, there
Yeah,
you go. Yeah,
there you go.
you got it on
Funny,
VHS, huh?
yeah, my it's
I
actually
collect
my
VHS still. Yep, it's
I don't
cool.
always anything else. This is I guess the only one I technically have here. My this is my parents' copy, but yeah, no,
Nothing wrong with that.
oh, absolutely not. No,
You're taking good care of
they
it.
no, yeah, actually speaking of spooky, I mean, I don't know if you here, I'll not to show you the old dome, but yeah, no, I that's my spooky corner right here. This is all like the it's
Oh,
like
okay.
it's a Cthulhu, vampire. Those are the slasher characters as King of the Hill characters. I'm a fan of that one. And then Pet Cemetery, Scary Stories Tell in the Dark. That's Lost Boys in the corner. You ever seen Lost Boys?
Nope.
It's not bad if you
I
like.
have it saved on my DVR. I
It's
mean, it's
not.
been on my DVR for
You
like
know
two
what?
years. I,
Okay, I will say for just a fun movie. It's fun. There are vampires. It's disgustingly 80s. There's a just a an oiled, insanely ripped man with like a mullet and a saxophone. Like he's in this. Why is it there? It's 80s. It's I recommend it. It's great.
I will say for the record, my favorite horror flick, which
Mhm.
I don't know, I guess it would be debatable if it is, would be the Monster Squad.
Oh, Monster School. Yeah, no, that dude, that's a good choice. That is very much a
That's
good
that's
choice.
pretty much where I draw the line.
Well, it's also kind of fun too, right?
Yes, it's a knockoff of like the Universal monsters all in one movie, and then
Exactly.
there's also like
Fun kid adventure.
it's a kid thing. Yeah, it's almost like it almost kind of reminds me of like as if Goonies was like a monster movie.
See, okay, to be quite fair, I've technically never seen this, so if anything, this is on my list that I should check this out though.
There you go. Got it.
But I know enough about it. Like I'm like, okay, like all the stuff we talked about, I'm like, yeah, I know that stuff. All right, you think you sold me Goonies with monsters? Okay, you got some good flicks. And no, and to be quite fair, horror is as much as I was shitting on it, it's also, I mean, when it's done well, it's a fantastic genre because
Yeah,
again, it's like you have to you're crafting dread, and you can do it very cheaply or can do it like very high quality wise. Okay,
yeah.
so now we'll do my recommendations. So again, you got technically 20, not 20, you have, no, sorry, 28, I think, 28 days left. Yes, you have 28 days left of this month, and I think you can easily watch some stuff. Have you ever heard of The Haunting of Hill House?
No.
It's a really beautiful story. It's scary, but it's basically about how like this haunting affected a family. But like there's stuff that's like in the future, there's stuff in the past, but it's also like the relationships they've had. Did it make them grow closer? Did it drift them farther apart? Were they battling with very real things? It's shot beautifully. I can't remember if I cried or not during it. It's also just a beautiful show as far as just like it encapsulates human emotion very well in it. And sometimes it's also low-key scary. So super recommend it. Haunting a Hill House.
Okay.
So that's kind of the vibe I was getting. Is like I think you like ghost stories, but more importantly, I think you like not quite emotional ghost stories, but you like stories that's about like the people almost. It's like as much as them passing, them moving on, or them being remembered, and like that's kind of it's kind of got this weird romance to it where it's like it's a goodbye. Am I hitting on the head
Yeah,
maybe?
I think
Fair,
I think
fair.
yeah, it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you'd love that. Have you ever checked out Guillermo del Toro stuff like Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, Pacific Rim?
No.
I might give
Sorry.
you some homework then. No, you're fine. You're fine. He's got a lot of great movies. This movie it still scares the crap out of me because the mom looks terrifying. She still spooks me. It's hard for me to watch it. Mama, I severely recommend that. It's a ghost story, but it's about essentially a dad, and I'm just telling you the first 5 minutes, I'm not ruining anything, but a dad with his two daughters, I think they're twins, but with his two daughters, he's having a mental breakdown. He goes to their like a cabin in the woods, very secluded area, and unfortunately gonna he's gonna sewer slide. He's gonna eat a bullet.
Hmm.
But he was again having mental illness, and he was like he didn't want his children to be in this sad world, so he was gonna do something about it. This mama ghost comes and murks the dad before anything happens, and this ghost kind of ends up raising these children. Again, very loving. It's like, it's just this entity that's like, I have something to care for. And eventually, the brother of the guy who committed suicide finds the girls, adopts them because he's like, hey, they're my brother's kids. I feel responsible. And maybe the mama ghost wants revenge, but there's this weird love story about it where it's like this this entity cared for two children. Did she turn them feral? Possibly, kind of. But yeah, that doesn't mildly sound interesting to you. Don't check it out, but I really think you'll like it. But I will also warn you, it will scare the crap out of you. The mom freaks me out. So Mama, there you go. That's second recommendation. Boom.
Is that, by the way, is that a trauma film or no?
No. Oh no, 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 no.
Okay.
So okay. But you know about trauma as far as like
Oh yeah.
the vibe. Yeah, no.
Mhm.
What I described as beautiful art. Trauma's like crystal meth. Like it's almost insulting as you're like,
uh,
oh yeah. No, they're wrong. Trauma's fun.
well, I know they have a mom movie, but I can't remember if it was called Mama or Mommy or Mom or
What?
something. That's why I was asking if it was a trauma.
Trauma, no, bro. Like so I get bored sometimes, and I will watch like the really weird 80s or like maybe late 70s, not quite slashers, but it's like this is just garbage. This is like stuff we forgot about. And I think it was a trauma flick, and I think it was called like Eddie the Geek, which I didn't know what geek
Hmm.
meant until this movie, and then I think I watched another movie when I found out that the career path of a geek. You know what geek is?
I've never seen that film. No.
Well, no, not the film. Just like, have you ever heard of that reference? It's like, oh, that's the geek. They're usually at circuses, but
No, I never. No, I
okay.
haven't.
Well, I'm gonna give you a history lesson. So
Go for it.
back in the time of like freak shows and kind of roaming carnivals, there was a specific job at these carnivals where it's like usually we're employed by an alcoholic, usually a junkie, somebody that's like I can basically do whatever I want with you because you are in a vulnerable state, and I will give you your medicine. I'll give you your drug, your thing of choice, but you have to do something humiliating. And they would essentially bite the heads off chickens.
Oh, interesting.
That's what a geek is. That's where it can't it's I know it's weird to be like, okay, now it's a nerd, whatever. But it was so bad. The horror movie is called, I think it was like Eddie the Geek. I can't remember the name. I don't even want to look it up because this is a piece of garbage. But basically, it was like this terrible child was raised in this situation, gets rescued from the system. The system says, "Hey, he's all better now." Just kidding. Literally the same day he gets out, he goes back to like stalking people and biting heads off chickens. It's like it was awful. It was just like, yeah, don't let those people outside. Keep them locked away. I'm like, what message are you trying to tell people? And it was just, it's just awful. So, yeah, be careful of trauma. Trauma is kind of hot garbage. But if you want it, it's a great place. But
Yeah.
don't trauma. Fuck. I already hit you with two emotional ghost stories. I also believe Halloween or the spooky season is all about kind of a variety of spooky movie. Do you have the questions up?
Yeah, I was just going through and I wasn't sure if you were going to ask me another one or not.
Specifically, we'll go to question 12. I don't know if you got a
Okay.
chance to read it, but did you see or hear about any of those movies? Which of those movies you're like, okay, that kind of sounds sick?
Um,
And just for the reference, people, I currently have movies recommended. So we haven't talked about the cryptids part yet, which we are about the 2 hour mark. We're gonna go a little bit longer, just a little bit.
I have seen American Werewolf in London.
It's a great movie, isn't it?
The special effects were amazing. Yeah.
There you go. So the movies I had that he should watch because he likes cryptids was The Ritual. People talk about it, but I think it's a fantastic new movie that does scary and kind of topics well. Pumpkinhead, which
Mm.
is that's kind of like my trauma flick. Like that's my kind of like it's not great, but
Ah,
it's pretty good. and then American Werewolf in London. That's what I put down on the list, people. If you haven't seen any of those, depending on his answer, I recommend you check it out for the spooky season. So yeah, out of those three, what's I guess those two then, Pumpkinhead and The Ritual. I mean, ain't those?
I guess I'd say Pumpkinhead. It was on TV, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I watched maybe the first 15 minutes of it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch something else.
It's
But yeah,
weird.
I could go back and watch it, I guess.
Well, no, the funny thing is, and I don't know if it's just me, but like I every time I rewatch it, it has this weird spell of just like it gets boring after like 15. No, I get it. You want to change the channel. And nothing's remarkable about it. But the setting's cool, the actors are great, and the monster's great. If you go channel, it basically just looks like an alien. He looks like I don't know, like change the head off the xenomorph, but keep everything else. That's what Pumpkinhead looks like. It's again not a great flick, but it's we appreciate it, you know. But maybe I just discovered a secret like there's a demon in this movie specifically, but it's just boring. It's just you can't watch it because it's just so oh. So yeah, it's boring. Check out Pumpkinhead, everybody. It's a sick flick. Okay. Oh, wait. And I don't know if I put Antlers. Oh, Antlers was at the bottom. I don't know if you missed that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see you have the thing about Wendigo. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. So funny enough, that was produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
Kind of mid. Monsters look fantastic. Like just it really tight. I wished it could be better. I liked the story they were trying to tell, but then they fumbled at the end. Cool monsters, you know. Antlers, it's not bad. If you want a mid horror movie, check it out, guys. We talked a lot about like again spooky stuff and kind of do you generally want to be scared or do you want to like I guess what would you prefer besides just an emotional ghost story? Like what do you give me some things that you think you would like in a scary movie and I'll tell you check out this and there you go.
I don't know, something that's just probably more so. It'd have to be funny.
Okay. Oh, dude, we got those.
I mean, I like slapstick, but I mean nothing that's like completely stupid. Where I'm like, okay, this is just too corny.
So and that's what I'm telling you, man. That's what's great about the horror genre because I already got two picked for you. First, have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
Yes, that's a good movie.
Okay. It's one of our boys. We love that. Have you seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
No.
That's a movie I came in with like no expectations. I was expecting it to be stupid, and I had the best time watching it. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. If you'd like, I can send you all this stuff via Facebook. I would
Okay. Yeah.
severely recommend to check it out. I'd love to nerd out about it with you later.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Okay, so yeah, you got Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Haunting a Hill House, Mama. Have you ever seen The Wicker Man, the 1970s one with Christopher Lee?
No.
It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, but it's like to a Christian and just like the implications, especially the ending of the movie, it's really dark, real spooky. I may recommend that. Granted, I don't want to put evilness in you, but it's just it's a solid flick. It's this kind of subject we call folk horror,
Okay.
where it's like again, it's more like instead of the bad guy being a slasher or a ghost, it maybe might be more pagan, more like the old ways as they speak.
Hmm.
I don't know. But again, it's not just like they're not openly doing witchcraft. It's just more just like it's just spooky. I think you'd like it. And freaking Saruman, Christopher Lee, he's in it. So if you like that guy, bam, just check it out. It's all flick. All
All right.
right. And that's yeah, I mean that's I'm again real curious. I think I could change your mind. Granted, I don't want you to start watching them. I think I could change your mind as far as like your views on certain horror movies. I think you'd be like, you know what, maybe this might be a genre for me. Or it's like I'm into a specific type of movie. And yeah, I think I think I can get you. I'm slowly converting one person, one scary movie at a time. So
My dad would record movies off of HBO, like just like horror flicks and stuff.
yeah.
And he would sit down and watch them, and he would try to get us to sit down and watch them with him. My brother always did. Me, I was kind of really reluctant too, because just I scared easily, I guess. Some of those times I remember that's how I got exposed to the Puppet Master franchise and
Dude, Puppet Master. Yes! Yes, absolutely. There, man, that's a series, if anything, man. Oh God.
What was the other one? There was another one that was like that. It was,
Evil Bong. Not just
well, not Evil Bong, but
is it the same franchise as far as like the
no,
studio?
it was. I think it was the movie was called Killer Toys.
Demonic
Demonic Toys.
Toys.
Yes, yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
when I was super young. That one wasn't spooky to me. It kind of reminded me of like a live action kind of flick.
So Full Moon. So that studio is it's notorious for the low budget, like, like you love to hate it horror. And I think they even had a Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys movie.
Hmm.
That's a cheese pizza if you ever saw it, man. That's a
There was a cheesy like horror flick that I remember seeing, Ghoulies 2.
yes, yes.
That's a hilarious film, but it's also spooky.
Yes, exactly. Just don't go to your
Yes, don't go
toilet.
to your
That's the whole fear. It's like just don't go
yeah.
there. Okay. Well, all right, guys. Man, you've got a chance to come into the spookiness with us. We talked about the spirit realm a little bit. We got to give you some horror recommendations. I was thinking about like how we want to end this. I mean, we're kind of like we're looping there. I guess how do you say kind of like you said when you don't mess with a Ouija board? I know you have to say goodbye every time you do technically use it. Do you ever do anything special when you say goodbye to the cemetery? Is there anything you do to kind of like wipe your feet from like the potential place you've been in a spiritual sense? You know what I'm saying?
When I've tagged along with this local paranormal group, by the way, they're called Halo Paranormal Investigations.
Halo Paranormal Investigation.
When I would tag along with them, before I went ahead and did that, I would, while I'm driving there, I would put on like worship music, and it would vary. It'd be like either Christian worship music or it'd be like something that's like, I don't know, like Christian metal or something like that. I just, depending on what the mood is, and then just spend some time in prayer.
Interesting. Okay.
I'd always, and then when I left, I'd always pray, like that nothing would be attached to me and nothing would go home with me and all the other kind of stuff. I mean, I pretty much knew right away, like,
Whether you had it or didn't, kind of thing. Okay.
yeah, basically. Yeah. And I've never felt like anything followed me home.
Well, you know
But yeah.
what? It's funny. I started my last podcast episode today. We started it with a prayer. It's only funny enough that I end this session, I end this podcasting day. We'll end it with a prayer. In case any of y'all listen, get any evil spookums, goblins, ghouls, or demons be attaching yourselves while listening to this. We're going to rebuke it. We're going to say a goodbye prayer and tread carefully, straight up. Don't go knocking at places where something can knock back because oftentimes it could. All right. We think you all good there,
Yeah.
Christian? Oh, and I don't know. Do we talk about like how they can get a hold of you?
No, not yet.
Okay, crap. Just kidding. What are your social handles?
Okay, so yeah, if you'd like to check out and see what I'm up to, or if you'd like to contact me, you can go ahead and reach out to me on Instagram at grave_time. You could also email me at gravetime@hotmail.com. And yes, I still use Hotmail.
Hey, vintage baby. We love it.
I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Grave Time. Maybe in the near future, maybe in the new year, I might start doing a podcast just talking about cemeteries, and that's it.
Well, brother, if we ever go up to Jacksonville Cemetery and you do that podcast, man, I'll go on. I'll tell my story.
Okay.
Talk about my spooky side of it though. So well, it's about that time,
Okay.
sir.
Cool.
It's about that grave time. I think the cemetery is closing and it's getting spooky. You can see the fog coming, can't you?
Yeah, I guess.
I was like, come on, man. I'm just joking. Like, laugh, please.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, wonderful. Okay. Well, guys, again. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let's end on a super quick prayer. And then we're out of here. Mind if I
Yeah, go
start
for it.
and then you can
Yeah.
finish? Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful time with this wonderful man, Christian. Seriously, this has been just a blessing getting to know him, and more importantly, just hearing his journey, but also just like his beliefs and like his loving heart, God. It was a real pleasure to just enjoy this 2 hours with him. I pray over the entire audience, whether they're dealing with very real, stressful situations, dark situations, um, this may just downright spiritually evil situations. I rebuke that. It does not belong to you. We have nothing but loving, kind people that listen to this, though. In the name of Jesus, I rebuke that. I pray that you have a wonderful rest of your week. I pray that you stay safe, guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, I pray these things. If you want to go, Christian.
Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on this podcast. I pray that you just bless Tristan and in his endeavors with the podcast, and it would prosper.
Heck yeah.
And also for the audience that are listening, that maybe you got an answer tonight about something maybe going on in your own personal life or things that have happened in the past. And
Amen. Amen.
yeah, just thank you for the opportunity. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen, brother. Well, hey, guys. Like I said, cemetery's closing, gates shutting down, it's getting dark. It's time to rent a movie and get some popcorn, scary movie style. I'm Tristan. This has been Christian. You've listened to another ordinary ghost hunter with an extraordinary, super spooky story. Ooh. Did you see that?
Yeah,
My
your light
light
did flicker.
flickered.
Yeah.
Bro! We're out of here. We're done. Okay. God bless. And thank you for listening to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. If you're interested in helping the channel, feel free to click on the link below to get access to our Patreon, where we have exclusive episodes and clips not shown to the public. And of course, if you believe you yourself have an interesting story to tell, or know somebody who would be great for the show, feel free to email me back at OPESpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPES. That's the acronym for the show, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories, OPES, podcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, and until next time.